Hi, and welcome to the PHP class. Simple video to get you started. This is meant to be your sort of first introduction to the site and where we're going to do our work. You've been sent instructions with your login name and your password. I want you to go to the website per those instructions, and let's go ahead and get started. I'll just log in right now. We've all done this before, no big deal. And here we go. We're off to the races. This is the initial screen when you first sign on. You can see this is the CompSci 192 PHP class. Right now we're currently on Lesson 1. Down here on the blue line you can see Lesson 1. A few things about this screen. Everything you're going to do is going to be on this screen. Up here we have a change of password link. Lets you change your password. Your initial password, which is sent to you by email, is very simple. Better off to go ahead and reset that password almost right away. Go ahead and use a password you're familiar with, something you know intimately that you're not going to forget. That's the best way to do it, is to set your own password. Also at the top of the screen there is a sign off button. On this sign off button, when you're done working on the lessons, please sign off. It's important to keep others off your account, especially if you're using this on a shared computer. Make sure that you always sign off from the class. Now here at the top you'll see this red section. This is your instructions. This is your instructor's class message. This is where I broadcast messages to everybody. It says welcome to the spring 2017 semester. Keep in mind I might be using this video in future semesters, so your semester is different. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to remake this video until this screen changes. You can see that this is an 8-week course and the proper pace is 2 lessons per week. I'm not real big on setting a deadline. You have to finish this on this day, but as long as you do those 2 lessons a week, everything's going to be good. So for this semester, and these dates will change by the semester, I want Lesson 1 done by Friday, February 10th, and Lesson 2 done by Monday, February 13th. Also up here at the top is a course syllabus. Let's click on that course syllabus now. I want everybody to click on, print, and read this course syllabus. It's very important that you do this. I want everyone to be familiar with the rules before we start this class. This course will be a learn by doing approach where there will be 16 lessons posted, each containing lectures and lab assignments. The lecture will explain specific topics and the lab assignment will have students implement the PHP topic on their assigned web pages. There will also be message boards available for the students where they can ask and answer questions. At the start of each course, each student will use one of the many free web hosting sites to publish a simple web page. As the class progresses, students will add PHP to the outside web page with each lesson. By the end of the course, all lessons will be completed. Each student will have their own PHP-packed web page, proudly published on the World Wide Web. In fact, there are going to be 2 web pages. One I call the internal web page and one called the external web page. There'll be code you upload to me that I can see directly what your code is doing, and there'll be code that you publish on a website. Each student's success will depend on class participation. Participation is defined by students signing in at least twice a week and staying within 2 lessons of the rest of the class. Students who sign on once a month and try to complete 8 lessons at a time will be penalized. You got that? You have to keep up with the lessons. No one is allowed to complete all the lessons in the last week of school. You have to do 2 lessons a week. Here's the website where we'll be posting these lessons at, college1.com. Here's my information. My name is Chris Ferguson. I have office hours on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Wednesdays if you need to come by and see me. My office is in Hasley Hall 331. My classroom is in 133. I generally split my time between the 2, so look in both places if you're looking for me. Here's my phone number and my email address. I'll be honest with you, email address is a much better way to contact me, or use the class message board. Here's some textbook information. Getting the textbook is important. I think when you don't understand my description of a topic, you need to go to that textbook and read that chapter and see if you can understand it better from the textbook description. Grading. Grading is a very important part of this class. The online lessons, remember you have to keep pace to get credit for these online lessons, is worth 40% of your grade or 40 points. We'll look a little bit more at that when we get to the main screen. The web pages, the two web pages, the internal web page and the external web page, that'll be worth 30 points. The web pages are kind of like a term paper. It's a semester-long project. We add a little bit to them each week until the end we have fully operational web pages. That's worth 30 points of your grade. And finally, the final is another 30 points, or 30% of your grade. I'm grading on a 100-point scale here. You get a maximum of 100 points. 30 of those points are for the final. Students are required to come to the campus TLC to take the final. If you're an out-of-area student, you may arrange a proctor. We do that about 2 weeks before the end of the term. But it's your responsibility, if you do not live in the area, to arrange a proctor at a local college or some other testing place. Now the needed point totals, 87 points out of 100 to get an A, 75 out of 100 to get a B, 60 out of 100 to get a C, and a 50 to get a D. If you keep up with the lessons and you do your lessons, if you work on your web pages, you should be able to do well in this course. Students that tend to not do well in this course don't do their web pages, don't keep up with the lessons. It does cost you points if you don't complete the lessons when you're supposed to. Like I said, the exam will be held on campus, or students can arrange a proctor if they're out of the area. Make-up exams will not be allowed. If you miss the final, you miss it. Now here's some other information about the course. Again, this is Computer Science 192 PHP program. In addition to the rules set forth by the Santa Clarita Community College District, students enrolled in this course must agree to the instructor's rules and guidelines for an online class. Each student must complete his or her own assignments, projects, exams. Any student that has another person complete his or her lessons, projects, or exams is cheating. Students may be asked for identification prior to taking exams. The students are 100% responsible for backing up their own work. The instructor or the college district does not guarantee any data or web page stored on this class website or any website. Suggestions on how to complete the backups are in the lab, but even those instructions carry no guarantees. Students need to save their own work and be required to present it in the event of a system failure. So you're going to be uploading web pages to me. You need to keep a backup of that web page. And if you don't have a backup and something happens to it, it's your problem. Each student is required to complete his or her own work even if the class website is available. Each student is provided a syllabus clearly stating the topics and reading assignments for each lessons. Students are required to print the syllabus at the start of the term. If the site is unavailable, you can work on your reading assignments, your outside web pages, and your backup web pages as mentioned above. Tampering or interfering with the class website or other students' files is a crime. Students that intentionally delete, modify, or access other student files or the files used to run this website will be reported to the Santa Clarita Community College District and the appropriate legal authorities. If an extended system failure occurs, please check your email for a message from the instructor or contact the instructor using my information. Use my email address, use my phone number. Now, here's what's really important. The instructor is not required to work on weekends or required to answer email immediately. Students should keep working on reading assignments, their outside web pages, and their backup web pages if they encounter a problem. There's many parts to each lesson. If you get stuck on a lab assignment, then do the exercises, do the quiz, move on to the next lesson. Send me an email, post on the message board, but keep working. The number one mistake online students make is they get stuck on one piece and they stop all other work. You cannot do that. Keep working. Students must complete work assignments each week. About every 14 days, the instructor will review your progress and assign 0 to 10 points There are 4 reviews, 40 points total. Students that do not finish their lessons before each review will lose points. Again, you should complete 2 lessons per week. It's unacceptable to wait to the end of the term to finish assignments. This will result in the loss of points. The system is not guaranteed to be available 100% of the time. If you wait to the last minute to complete lessons, do so at your own risk. So the big deadlines for this class are going to be every 2 weeks. At the end of every 2 weeks, students are supposed to be keeping up with the class. At the end of 2 weeks, you should be completing 4 lessons. So it's very important to keep up with the pace of the class. Now, here's a brief outline of what the course will cover. Obviously, we'll have an intro to PHP. We'll move on to variables and control statements, writing functions, arrays, object-oriented programming. That'll be a big focus on the second half of the course. We'll do a lot of CGI programming, getting information from the website and storing it on the server. And we'll do database programming. We'll do some graphics, cookies, and XML. It's going to be a full, broad overview of the PHP programming language. So that's the syllabus. Make sure that you print it, read it, and understand it. The bulk of the class is going to happen on this blue line. You can see welcome, and it should be your name and email address here. And your current lesson will be there in blue. Now, it's designed that you work this left to right. So generally, you'll watch the videos first. Click on the video. It'll play here in the middle of the screen. You press play, and you're off to the races watching the video. If there's multiple videos, there'll be a part 2 out here. Sometimes I post 2 videos. Sometimes I post 1. Just watch the videos first. That's generally the start of each lesson. Then there is a lecture. It is very important that you click on, read, and interact with the lecture. These are meant to be interactive. I'm not going to sit here and read the lecture to you, but you can see that I cover PHP. A lot of this is text-based. Every once in a while, you'll see an example inserted, and I say, I want you to click on and do this. So if it says click on this link and run the link, please do that. Now I'm going to hit the back button here to go back. Simple backspace works as the back button, so I come back to there. That is a simple PHP program that we're going to play with here in this first lesson. But if there is a link, I want you to go ahead and click on those links during the lessons. Now we'll talk about the PHP print command and how it works. Once again, when I write some code, there'll be some code to execute. If it's interactive code, I expect you to execute and run it. There's a website here I want you to go to and check out. This is the main PHP website for documentation and downloads. Here's a good example. Here's some PHP code that prints out what version of PHP your system is currently running. It's the PHP Info function. And what I do is when I show you a piece of code, I like to show you in the lecture that code executing. So in the frame below this code is what is the output. You can see I'm running version 5.3 on my server right now, and it has all sorts of important information. I put it in a frame so you can scroll down the frame and see some additional information about there because it's a big command. So I try to show you the code as it's executing. When I give you an example, make sure that you interact with the lecture. So I talk about some JavaScript versus PHP lessons, differences. I do some PHP comments. This is a first lesson. It's a fairly easy lesson. Make sure you read it and make sure that you interact with the lecture. Back to the main screen. Again, the blue line is meant to go left to right. You watch the videos, you read the lecture, and then we have some online exercises. The online exercises, you can see I've kind of already done these, so you don't have, but I'll show you how to do them again. They usually have you implement some code that we looked about in either the video or the lecture. This is very simple. I want you to write one line of PHP code. I want to print the word puppy. There's print the puppy. Don't forget the semicolon at the end of the line. That's a requirement in PHP. When you submit it, if all goes well, you'll see a success here. If something is wrong, if you didn't do it right, this area will collapse and not show anything. But this is clearly a success, and I'm going to get credit for submitting this exercise. Now let me make a big mistake here and show you what happens when you make a mistake. So I'm going to use a print command. The first mistake I'm going to show you that you possibly could make, print the word wine. The first mistake is a simple omission. You forgot the semicolon at the end. The semicolon at the end is a requirement, and if you don't put it in there, it'll do a quick scan. And in this case, since you left something out that was so critical, so important, it clearly comes up and says, hey, you forgot a semicolon. I can't run any PHP code unless you put a semicolon at the end. So on that case, it will go ahead and give you a quick warning message. Now, the next mistake you can make here, and this is a more serious error, is you can print, and this one's a bigger error. I'm going to leave off a double quote here. I had an opening double quote. I have a closing double quote. It should be there. It's not there. Now, in this case, it's what we call a syntax error. An error that causes the program not to run. Now, look what happened. Up here at the top of the screen, we've got no box that says success. The problem here is the code wouldn't run at all. It wouldn't run at all, so there's no output to show you from that code. This is recorded as a failure. It is not a success. So unless you see that box with the word success, you're not going to get credit for it. Now, you can see on this screen, I've already done the work here. My minimum requirements here is to complete these exercises 3 times. So I've done that for exercise 1. Complete these exercises 3 times. I've done that for exercise 2. So once these are both done, let's go back to our lesson plans. Back on the blue line together, you can see that it recorded my 3 exercises completed on both. You see that 6 there, that indicates how many towards the minimum have I reached on each exercise. Next up is the lab link. Let's click on the lab link, and what we're going to do is we're going to build web pages. We're going to build a web page in here. So I want you to read these labs and follow the instructions for building the web page. Now, in the very simple assignment, we're going to place some HTML in that thing for Lab 1 assignment using the PHP output print text. And we're going to output the text, my name is, and insert your name. That's it. The name your mother gave you, not the literal your name. Don't spend a lot of time making your college1.com webpage look pretty. This page will have a very simple look to it. So I'm going to click on the Show Lab 1 window here. This is where you upload the code to me. I have a hello world here. What did I say I wanted to? Hello, my name is. So I'll print hello, my name is. I'll experiment. Let's do an echo command just to show you can use echo or print. I'm going to echo and use double quotes. I think I wanted an H1, right? H1 slash H1. All I'm doing here is following the instructions in the lab here. It says I want Lab 1 assignment in a headline font. So I'll copy that, bring back my lab window, and put the instructions there. Upload and display your web page. And there it is. That's it for Lab 1. For the internal web page, I would just want to say, hello, my name is Chris. What could be easier? Now you can see I put a color-coded output of the code that I input. It's right down there. It produces this output up here at the top. This is the PHP code. This is what the PHP code did right there. That's my internal web page. There is also a second web page that we have to build on each lab. All right. And that's where you go out and you build your own website on an external host. Now, this is a pseudo business site on a web host that must support PHP. We're going to set up a site that sells cars or houses or vacations. Pick one of those three, please. All the materials I provide you assume that you have one of those three. So when I say here's some product to put on your web page, I'll have samples for cars, samples for houses, samples for vacation. Now, it should be obvious what type of business you picked, because in a large centered headline across the top of the outside web page, I want something like Pete's Cars. And make sure you use PHP to output this headline. In the middle of the page, place some blank spaces. We'll put contact in there later. And then at the bottom, output some message that this is a non-commercial website by your name, created as a lab assignment for this website. At this point, the outside page should be very, very simple. Don't worry, that's what I want. We'll be adding new features to this lab. Don't go overboard and over-design. You don't want to see a lot of graphics and fancy HTML at this point. But remember, as we continue, we'll add more and more to it. More important, the outside web page must use PHP. It's got to be a PHP supported website. Now, my particular favorite here is X10 Hosting. I plan to do a separate video for how to set up an account on X10 Hosting. So watch that video. There's some alternative websites out there that host for you for free, but this is now my current preferred one. That's the lab. You're going to build 2 web pages in the lab. Let's go back to the main screen. When you've done your exercises and when you've done your lab, it's time to take the quiz. The quizzes are not designed to be hard, but the quizzes are designed to be your signal that you finished it. When you take quiz 1, that's the signal to move on to lesson 2. Until you take quiz 1, you will not advance to lesson 2. Alright, now I'm not planning to get them all right, but I'm going to submit this quiz. And you can see I got 2 wrong and it looks like 3 right. The wrong ones are in red and have these XXX's in front of them. The correct ones are in green and they have the $signs in front of them. So taking the quiz is important. I want you to retake this quiz till you get 5 out of 5. High score rules as far as the quiz goes. So I would consider this a good first try, but I want you to make sure that you resubmit this quiz at some point and try and get 5 out of 5. Now, more importantly, when I head back to my lesson plan, look what happens. After taking quiz 1, lesson 2 pops up on the next line. Lesson 2 will have its own video. Lesson 2 will have its own lecture. Lesson 2 will have new exercises. What's going to happen here now is at this point I'm ready to work on lesson 2. Taking quiz 1 gets me to lesson 2. When I take quiz 2, what will happen? I'll move on to lesson 3. Now, also look what happened to lesson 1. Lesson 1 dropped down to the archive. So you can go back and check out the videos, you can check out the lecture, you can go back to the exercises. If you got stuck on an exercise and couldn't complete it, don't worry, you can always go back and complete an exercise. So remember how we didn't finish quiz 1, we didn't get 5 out of 5. You can go back and retake quiz 1 anytime you like. So there you have it. That's our quick overview. Make sure that you do your 2 lessons per week and everything should go smooth. Thank you, and we'll see you online.